Kids Online for another episode looking at Moses' life. We are on week 5 of 6 weeks, so we're almost near the end of the story of Moses. But let's have a quick recap to where we have got up to. So the first week we looked at baby Moses and how God protected Moses in crazy situations. And then the week 2 we looked at when Moses had grown up, he made this mistake, he had to run away from Egypt, ended up in the middle of nowhere, and God spoke to him through the burning bush. And we looked at how God can speak even today. Week 3 we looked at the 10 plagues of Egypt and how these allowed God to show us that we should fear him in the right way, where we should put him number 1 and recognize him for who he is. And then last week we looked at finally when the Israelites had escaped, but not quite, and how they got through the Red Sea, and how God is so powerful, and he was the only one that could have made this situation happen. So that's where we're up to. The Israelites are now in the desert, and they're heading towards a place called Mount Sinai. Well, this week we're going to be looking at how we should obey God, not like the Israelites. And we're going to be focusing on another part of Moses' life that's really well known. And it's something that we still follow today. And that, of course, is the 10 Commandments. So this is the story, and let's find out what happens.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Moses. This is Moses, who was an Israelite born in Egypt in a time when Israelite boys were not supposed to live.
Wait, huh?
Moses, however, grew up in the palace of the Pharaoh, the very man who was enslaving the Israelite people. When Moses grew up, he made a big mistake and fled Egypt to live with the Midianites. But God called Moses back to Egypt to deliver his people with the help of his brother Aaron. After God showed his miraculous power in Egypt, he led the Israelites through the Red Sea and towards the Promised Land. They followed God, who showed himself as a cloud by day and fire by night. After traveling in the desert for 3 months, they came to Mount Sinai, and God called Moses from the top of the mountain. God spoke to Moses there of the future of his people and reminded him of the miracles of the past. After 3 days, there was thunder and lightning as a thick cloud covered the mountain. The people heard a loud trumpet blast. And Moses led people to the foot of the mountain to meet with God. God told them how his people were to live and how they were to honor him and respect each other. The Israelites had seen for themselves that God had spoken to Moses from heaven. These rules that God told them are called the 10 Commandments. And the Israelites feared God, for his mighty power had brought them out of slavery and provided for them in the desert.
Now, I still can't believe that the Israelites needed these 10 Commandments as soon as they did after they left Egypt. God had shown them his power and his might and his provision and his love so many times, and yet the Israelites just wanted to do their own thing. They got themselves into trouble so quickly. So God gave these 10 Commandments to them to help them obey him, to do what the right thing was. And the thing is, these 10 Commandments still are used today. The 10 Commandments are still very important, and they help us remember how we can obey God as well. Now, do you know the 10 Commandments? Well, if you don't, I'm going to show you a way to help you remember them just using our hands, and hopefully this will mean that you know them off by heart no matter what. So here we go, the 10 Commandments using our hands. So the first commandment is that we should have no other gods, that we should put God first. So one finger up to the air, put God first, we should have no other gods before me is commandment number 1. Hopefully that's super easy to remember. The second commandment is that we should make no idols. We shouldn't have things in our life that come before God. So not just gods in the first commandment, but things as well. So the second commandment, we're going to put 2 fingers up, and one of our fingers is going to bow to the other ones, like we're bowing towards an idol. Okay? So you should have no other gods before me. Don't make for yourself any idols. Great. The third commandment is that we shouldn't misuse God's name. We shouldn't use God's name in vain. So we're going to put 3 fingers up together and we're going to put them to our lips. So we shouldn't use God's name in a way that shouldn't be used. So that's our third commandment. Our fourth commandment is that we should remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Now, Sabbath is that old word that we use for a day that we should rest, like God did through creation. He rested on the 7th day. But it's also a time that we can worship God. Now, usually it's a Sunday, but it can be any day. A day that we rest and remember God for who He is. So we're going to use 2 fingers on either hand, and we're going to put them together like we're praying, like worshiping God. And also we're going to bow them down like we're resting. So remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Okay, so that's our fourth one. Now our fifth commandment is one that you should hopefully all know really well, and that's honor your father and mother. So we're just going to use our 5 hands, we're going to put them together, and we're going to salute. Okay, so honor your father and mother. That means obey what they say as well. They want the best for you. So honor your father and mother. Shall we go through those first 5? You should have no other gods before me. Don't make any idols. Don't misuse the name of God. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. And honor your father and mother. Halfway there. Okay, the 6th commandment is probably one you all know is in there, and that is do not commit murder. So we're going to put our hand up for 5 fingers, and then our 6th one is going to be a gun. Okay, so we should not murder. Alright, so 6th commandment, you shall not murder. Our 7th commandment is that we should not commit adultery, which means that when you're in a relationship, you should stay with the person you're in a relationship with. So we're going to have 2 people next to each other. So that's our 7 fingers. Do not commit adultery. Stay with the person you're in a relationship with. Our 8th commandment is another one that hopefully you know, is do not steal. So we're going to have our 8 fingers up and we're going to use our hand to steal away those 3. Okay, so do not steal. The 9th commandment is that we should not lie. A bit more of a tricky one. I'm sure all of us have lied in some way at some point. So for our action for our 9th commandment, we're going to put our hand up like we are saying a pledge or trying to tell the truth. You know how they do that in movies and shows, where they put their hand up and then they put the other hand on the Bible. When you're in a courtroom, that's what they ask you to do to make sure you're not going to lie. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use 4 fingers down and 5 fingers up. So we shall not lie. And our last commandment is that we should not covet, which means that we shouldn't want what other people have. And covet, well, we're going to use our 2 hands, 10 fingers, and we're going to grab. So we should not covet. All right, let's do those last 5 and then we'll put them all together. So our 6th commandment was that we should not murder. We're going to shoot. Our 7th commandment is that we should not commit adultery. Our 8th commandment is that we should not steal. Our 9th commandment is that we should not lie. And our 10th commandment is that we should not covet. All right, let's see if we can do all 10 all together. So the first one was, you should have no other gods before me. Don't make any idols. Do not misuse the name of God. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. Don't commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not lie. And you shall not covet. Alright, well hopefully that's helpful for you. I think even I needed a recap of some of the 10 commandments. But these rules are ways that God has given us to help Him obey Him. So this week, let's see if we can obey God. And remember that He has done so many things and He deserves to be obeyed. So I hope you are able to join me next week for the last part of the story of Moses. Let's find out what happens towards the end of his life. And I hope you have a great week. So I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.